All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Really excited for today and to introduce you guys to today's guest. We have Valerie Gangas, who is, I didn't even ask you where you are in the world, but we'll find that out in a minute. And Valerie is a coach and the best-selling author of the book, and I love the title, Enlightenment Is Sexy. And we're going to have a fun conversation today and just flow some love and light out to you guys. And so without further ado from me, going to introduce you guys to Valerie. And Valerie, if you could share with the audience so they're more familiar with you, who you are, what you do, why you do it, and what part of the world you're in.
Okay. Well, right now I'm in Colorado. I travel a lot, so I tend to bounce around all over the country, but right now I'm in Colorado. So it's beautiful out and I'm really happy to be here. So yes, I'm the author of Enlightenment Is Sexy. I'm also a life coach. And I was inspired to go down this path after I lost my mom in 2011. That's when everything changed for me in my life. I describe it as having a radical transformation of consciousness of every area of my life. And after she passed away, it was January of 2011. I got really sick. I was suicidal. I was not functioning. I couldn't work. I could hardly leave my apartment. And then about 5 months later, I learned how to meditate, specifically transcendental meditation. And in one meditation, I went from feeling suicidal, or I was suicidal, not feeling I was suicidal, to feeling like I opened my eyes and I was like in Disneyland. It was like a state of ecstasy that changed every cell of my being. And within weeks, I had a brand new life, a new career. I was speaking in different corporations around Chicago about consciousness and meditation and how you could lead a better life. And then about 2 years after that, I decided I wanted to write a book. So I wrote Enlightenment Is Sexy and became a coach and started going down a whole nother path. So because of this massive, massive change in my life, I went a different direction as far as my career and as far as every part of my life, how I lived. And that was the catalyst for all this change.
Really interesting, really inspiring. And for everybody out there listening, I always find it fascinating when people have, what I'm sure Valerie would probably describe as a rock bottom experience, and how, if we can allow it to catapult us, back in the other direction, it's always going to happen in the time that we're ready for it to happen. But that could totally put us on a different path in life, like it did for Valerie. And I find it fascinating that meditation was really, was the biggest catalyst for it. How did you just decide one day to meditate, or did somebody suggest that, or how did that happen? Because I talk about meditation quite a bit with different guests, and always seems to be a pretty important part of life for a lot of people that we've had on the show. How did it kind of start for you?
It's funny. I never thought about meditating. It wasn't something that ever came up in my life. The weird part is, like, I have been interested in theology and spirituality since, I was like 9, 10, 11 years old. I was a religious studies major in college. I read, I don't know how many books about spirituality and personal development and all that. And never in that whole time period, which was like 20 years more, 25 years, I never thought about meditating. It just like didn't come up. So after I had this experience of losing my mom and everything fell apart, really transcendental meditation found me. My friend dragged me to a dinner party. It was actually a work party for him. So it was me and, like, I don't know, maybe 10 futures traders, all these guys, and me like just crying at the end of the table because I was non-functioning. And one of the gentlemen that was there at the dinner party started talking to me and asking me what was wrong. And I said, like, I feel really suicidal and I'm not functioning and I'm not sleeping. and I'm really sick. And he suggested that I learn how to meditate. And really, he thought if I learned to meditate, it would just help me get some rest. He had no idea that it would change my whole life. So, the same friend that invited me to his work party actually set everything up for me, paid for me to learn how to meditate, and put everything in motion for me. And I just showed up and I didn't even know what I was about to learn. I had no idea what TM was about, but I was given a mantra and taught how to meditate. And in one meditation, like, I was a meditator. I had come home. So it's kind of weird how it found me, but it was my miracle in my life, really.
I love that. I love that. And super inspiring. And for people out there that may have never tried meditation or have been thinking about it, that it doesn't have to take years to become like, because you just described yourself as, after that, you were a meditator. So it was just in the moment, like you were, now you knew how to do it and you were comfortable doing it. And it sounds like it's become a practice for you ongoing, probably since then. So that's really, I think that can give confidence to people out there listening that, there's many different types of meditation. Do you do other types, or is it transcendental is kind of still part of your practice today?
I don't do any other type because it worked so well for me that it's so easy and I just stuck with it, and it just became a part of who I am now. And I actually started working with my meditation teacher a couple weeks after I learned, and so I have worked with hundreds and maybe thousands at this point of people learning TM, and I've never met anyone that can't do it. It's what they think before they learn. Like, I can't quiet my mind. Like, I'm not gonna be able to do this. And I'm always like, it's no big deal. Yes, you can. It's like, it's not something you have to try to do. You get a mantra and you follow it. It just, I don't know. It kind of happens on its own. I know that sounds kind of strange, but it's not difficult. It's the opposite of what you're taught in life. There's no trying in meditation. There's no pushing. It's just a natural occurrence in your body if you are taught the right way to do it.
Awesome. Is that part of what you teach and coach, I'm assuming, or what would your advice be to the listeners as far as if they're inspired now that they want to learn the things that is that something that you're teaching ongoing, or what's your suggestion?
I'm not a meditation teacher. I've certainly connected a lot of people to teachers. They're, in every city all over the country. But I always tell people, you don't have to do what I do. You don't have to learn TM if you're not drawn to it, but take on some spiritual practice that allows you to center yourself every day. It just helps you get out of your own way. And I really feel like it's a game changer if you incorporate something like that into your life.
Absolutely. I agree. For me, Valerie, every morning, just on purpose, because I know if I at least get my energy to a starting point where, I'm feeling good, it doesn't have to be like blissed out. That'd be awesome. If I could get to Disneyland, like you said.
I mean, that was like an extreme situation.
I know the feeling for sure. For me, my meditation doesn't end until I feel good, which I would love to feel like Disneyland every day, but that's not really always the case for me. But at least if I'm feeling calm or at peace, if I could just feel good, now that's a good energy to start the day. And that's kind of what determines how long my meditation is. Normally about 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes tops.
And I think it's great to be so laid back and calm about it, because that's what it's about. It's supposed to help you just be able to handle everything that comes your way and not be thrown off your game. I feel like the longer you meditate, I mean, I had an extraordinary experience, but I also had hit rock bottom. Okay, so there's a big difference between me and like an average person that just wants to incorporate this in their life. I have seen people, the more they meditate and the more they bring that silence into their being and their everyday life, they have way more control of their emotions. And more control of their nervous system. It's just everything is calm. You can handle a lot more. You're not being, like a leaf in the wind with your emotions. You're just kind of steady Eddie. And when you have that ability in your life, everything is easier. It's like, why wouldn't you do it?
Absolutely.
It's so simple. It's like brushing your teeth. It's like no big deal.
For sure. I love how you describe it that way. So it doesn't sound like such a task or chore, or like I have to do this, like trying to make something happen. That is definitely not the suggested way to allow yourself to feel, just to feel good. And you're so right. Like if you can get to that point where, you're feeling good, you can just think of when you're out in the world, you're not going to respond as quickly, because how we feel in our, the momentum of energy is it's all about how we're responding to what's happening in life. It's not what the actual thing is that's happening, how we're responding to it. So if something happens and you're starting off in a point where you're just at peace, you're content, and then something happens, it's unlikely to knock you down into like rage. But if you leave the house and you're like frustrated already or anxious about something, you're rushing and you're trying to do something, and then something were to happen, whether someone cut you off in traffic or whatever it is, that's how, it's much easier to get to road rage from already being anxious or frustrated than if you're chilling. And like most likely that's not going to like set you all the way off. It could.
Right. Because when you think about it, it's like, that doesn't even matter. Like those little things that happen, and it's never going to stop. There's always going to be problems and people, being aggravating you and all these things. But if you are quiet inside, honestly, these things won't even get to you at all. They won't even bother you. And I think you can get to, an almost permanent state of being like that, where you're just moving through the world and, things are light. Everything isn't so heavy or such a big deal. And I think that's one of the signs of transformation. You're not triggered anymore. And it's kind of shocking when that first starts happening to you, because you're like, shouldn't I be freaking out because this like thing is happening right now? But it's almost like you're just watching yourself be calm. And then you're so much more helpful to yourself and everyone around you when you are quiet inside like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You definitely get used to, I tell people that I have one addiction, and I'm addicted to how good I can feel my energy. Like that's, because
That's awesome.
I'm really
That's a good
aware of it.
addiction.
I'm really aware of it. So I had blind spots when I was younger, and I noticed myself being critical about myself or others like really quickly. And then once I uncovered some of those blind spots, then I can catch it early on if I'm being critical of myself or others. Like it doesn't take me minutes, hours, or days. It's like one thought, two thoughts. It's like, stop it, Noel. Like I
Right.
can already see it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That just shows me how aware you are. And that's another gift of like incorporating that silence into your life, because you can be like, ooh, I don't like how I reacted that. And you catch yourself, and it's like you start rewiring your brain.
absolutely. You know what's interesting too? And I'll use the example that you use. When you go from like, it's probably the worst that we can feel as human beings, like as far as English words to put on it, like when we're like grieving or depressed or powerless, like down, in the depths, like not really many words that we could use that feel worse than that. And then
Hmm.
to be able to touch what you touched, meditation, the difference in energy from down there to what you felt, for sure that would feel like Disneyland. Like, it's just it's such
It
a
is.
big
It's a
difference.
new world.
Yeah. And so the same thing when you're talking about when you start getting used to, just being quiet inside and just like, you're just chilling, like you get used to that. The difference when you start to feel some of the energies of, maybe you're overly worried about something or you're stressed about something, like
Hmm.
that feels so different than what I'm used to living now, that I just
Right.
don't like the feeling, like way more than I probably was more accepting of that, like negative, that heavy
Hmm.
feeling back before I would use terms like I'm addicted to how good I can feel. Like in my life when I was younger, I didn't use terms like that because that wasn't the
Well,
case.
you have a new normal now. It's
Yeah,
just a new, that's like a new, you know, that's just your norm.
for
And
sure.
that's awesome. And those are my favorite people to work with, people that are like having these experiences where they're like, oh my God, everything's different. Like I feel different, because it is confusing at first. because you're so used to like being a mental case that when you start pulling out of that, like everything starts changing. Like your group of friends starts changing. You might get a new job. You might like move across the country. You start making huge shifts in your life because you're totally different, and it's like I just wrote a free ebook I put on my website for 7 signs of transformation, because it's good to have people to talk to about these like big shifts in consciousness and big changes that you're making in your life. Because I mean, I didn't have a guidebook for that. That's why I wrote Enlightenment Is Sexy, because I experienced so many things, and some of them were like supernatural things that I did not know that you could experience. And so I luckily found some people that were able to talk to me about all this and help explain what was happening. But it really started with that little bit of silence that I kept incorporating in my life every day. And then it grew into power in a way, but it's just a quiet power.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just an allowing life to flow power is how I kind of feel it and describe it. It's just not trying to like force things, but it's like, okay,
No.
you're inspired, like you have something that you're excited or passionate about, like creating, then you can flow this energy towards it. And you know that the more energy you flow towards it, then it will manifest the same way.
And so much support. You gain so much support when you're in this space, because you truly feel connected to something bigger than yourself. And the ideas start flowing, and answers just start coming to you. You feel as though you could almost know anything. And that gives you an edge. And so it really is the opposite of what we've been taught to do, which is pushing and work hard and fight your way through. This is totally the opposite. This is lean back, let it come to you. Just, wait, be quiet. And it all just starts unfolding. It's just an easier way of living.
Absolutely. I'm so happy that you just said that. That's a huge one for me. And I know the audience has heard me say this, maybe even on the last podcast. It was within the last few. I know I talked about this as far as any question that we have for, call it the universe, call it God, call it for love, spirit, all it is, source energy, whatever someone wants to call it. But if you ask any question and you don't need to know the answer right that second, maybe you might have a download to you right that second, but just know that it will come. You'll receive the answer. When you probably won't receive it is when you're in a really shitty mood. It's just
right.
because you're more on a frequency of like worry and and stress, and like you're just gonna keep thinking about thoughts about that.
And that just blocks you from everything. It really is stress and fear. It's the worst, because then you're not in the flow. You can't move in the direction you really want to be moving. It's just putting up roadblocks. So for me, if I really want to figure something out and it's a little bit complex, I'll ask myself before I go to sleep at night, I'll write it out, and I'll let my subconscious mind do the work. And I usually wake up with some pretty good answers. So again, it's the opposite of like, I got to figure this out. Like, I need to know. It's like putting it out there, letting it go. And I like to go to sleep and just let my mind work out the issue, and feel like I have some more insight in the morning when I wake up. I like to take the easy route, like with everything I do.
That's good. Audience listening, try that method. I haven't thought of that or heard of that, but it makes total sense what you just described. I just asked the question, and I just know it can come to me anytime. Like, I could be in the shower, I could be at the gym, I could be, I could be watching this like basketball game on TV, and I'm like, oh, and it'll be the question that I just asked earlier that day or yesterday. And then now I'm inspired, and then I'm like Googling something. I'm like, oh my gosh, of course. And then I'm like,
right,
I'm off and running. But I love what you just said, because that is an easier route for sure. Ask it right before.
It's like the lazy man's way of knowing things. Just ask yourself before you go to sleep at night.
That's really good. I like that. What other tips and tricks?
Our subconscious mind is like incredible. Like, yes. Our dreams, the things that we are working out while we're sleeping, like, I'm fascinated with all that based on all the experiences I've had. So sleep to me is as important as my waking life.
That's really good. I'm open for more awarenesses like this one to come to me as far as what's going on in sleep. I just was on a super powerful page on Instagram, I think yesterday, and there was a post there talking about when we're in our basically in the sleep world, we're in the same like realm as we are like when we like transition over, like basically non-physical, and we
Mhm.
can like interact with like knowledge and like it's a really interesting post. And I was like,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And I think also I'm fascinated with near death experiences. It's one of the most powerful ways I think we can have a radical transformation in our life. If you talk to someone that has had a near death experience, like they always come back different. I mean, you can't help it. You've pierced the veil and you see what's happening on the other side. And I feel like when we meditate or sometimes in our dreams, we also have access to these other worlds. And if you keep dipping into that over and over again, things happen. Like you no longer have a fear of death, which is a huge fear for most people. But you're having these experiences where you're seeing more, your awareness is opening up. And it's like the more you do that, like the fear starts going away because you just have a deeper understanding of like the universe as a whole instead of this pinhole that we're living in on the earth with like just our waking mind. It's that's like not even real. So through that silence, through sleeping in your dreams and through meditation, you're going in and out of that experience, and then it just becomes part of who you are. And that you know things, you just know things that you normally would not be able to grasp or understand.
I
And
love it.
it's not from reading or talking or listening to an audiobook. I mean, that's all that stuff is great too, but the things that you can understand through silence are extraordinary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you're connected. And you said it earlier in the episode. I mean, you're connected with the, that higher power of that, again, call it God, universe, all it is, source energy. I mean, you're just connected with a super conscious, like they say that when the conscious and the unconscious like can merge, and which happens when we're in our dream states and all these things. It can happen, anytime we allow it, then that forms like super conscious. And then you have access to what you're describing, information that it's way different than what we receive, from, some other sources. So I love that.
Absolutely. And it's a way, in my humble opinion, it's a cooler way to learn about things because it's like it's a feeling of knowing, like you're experiencing it and you know it because you're in it and you keep going in it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then you just like you'll see in your day-to-day life, you just know things that maybe other people don't know. And it
Absolutely.
really is from having those experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't think of any of the stuff I've created over the last, several years or things I've been excited to create that haven't come to me in some form of meditation. I get so many answers and inspirations of things that I want to create from there. So,
And
um,
that's why so many creative people meditate, or even just walking in nature, anything to like bring a slower life into your reality, like just some silence, quiet time, because we live in such a loud world, and all of that is a major distraction from connecting with God, or again, whatever you want to call it. But it's like that's the ultimate source. So to seek that first, I think is most important.
I love it. So good. That's so powerful for anybody out there listening. What other tips do you have for the audience? So this has been awesome. I want to extract anything from you that you want to share, that you're inspired to share. The reason that I share anything, Valerie, is because like all the stuff that we become aware of that allows us to live life like this. This is a huge one. I mean, you could stop here and be like, end of the podcast, and you've given so much value already. But anything that's like bursting out of you that you want to share with the audience.
Um, I mean, this sounds probably kind of radical, but I do think that the world is set up in a way to keep you distracted. I mean, everything from like going into debt, staying in a job that you hate, relationships that you don't like, just all the TV, phones, all the noise, it keeps you distracted from what we're talking about. And for some reason, I feel like it's like set up that way, because if everyone understood what we were saying right now, if everyone was having these experiences, we would be living in a much different world. So I always talk to people about, you need to systematically like write down the distractions in your life, write down the things that are happening to you that are pulling you away from God, or, you know, again, whatever you want to call it. I always say God because it's just what I've always thought. But anything that's pulling you away from that is a distraction and is harming you and is causing stress in your life. Because when you're in the flow and when you're having these experiences, like we've been discussing this whole podcast, you are not stressed. You naturally do the right thing. You create a life for yourself that works for you and that you feel like, this is why I'm on this earth. You have purpose. But when you're constantly being distracted, it's just pulling you away from that. So I always tell people, like, you got to get your house in order. It's not just about just meditating or just going to yoga class. You got to look at your life as a whole and say, what major changes do I need to make? And then take some action. But it will be easier if you have this connection in place to then make all the changes. It'll be a lot faster than if you just like went in cold and tried to make all these shifts, because you wouldn't be in the right frame of mind. You would still be like that hamster on a wheel. It'd be like how you were before. There'd be no change. So I think you have to take action. You got to make changes in your life, and also incorporate some sort of practice that allows you to see what's wrong in the first place, and then allows you to smoothly make these changes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I use all the words interchangeably. I've said God most of my life and I still use it interchangeably. I mean, to me, it's just, I know when I'm connected to God and I know when I'm not, because it's just feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So if you feel loving,
Right.
you feel happy, you feel joyful, then you're connected, and you can know that the thoughts that you think in those moments are going to be from God. The words
That's
that you
right.
speak are going to be from God. The actions that you take are going to be, you're going to, so you can, just what Valerie just described. Now you don't have to have the hard route of trying to make these changes in your life, and kind of out on an island on your own, which, I mean, we're never like totally disconnected from God, but we
We
can't
only
really,
think we are.
yeah, we can't receive the thoughts though, if we're frustrated, worried, angry, mad. That's not where God is. So
Exactly.
you can't hear it. So unfortunately, if you're taking actions from that place, the results that you're going to see in your life are going to be minuscule results compared to what you would see if you actually were connected and could hear the ideas, could speak the words, could take the actions, and you see the results that way. So I
Right.
love what
And
you're saying.
people that are having these experiences, these radical transformations, they're making massive decisions in their life, like in a day. I mean, like quitting their jobs or being like, I gotta move or whatever I gotta do. It's like, and they do it with a knowing and a power behind them. There's like support from the universe when you're in that flow, and you can't know that if you're not having the experience. Then it's like, then your mind has taken over, and it's like, it's not the same. It's not even close.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's, it when you are. Like, I mean, if you have to question it, then you're not.
That's right. That's right.
In that moment. And what I love about knowing about just energy and just connection is everything is always momentum. So if you feel like, if you even just feel this like quiet, this peace, this content, then momentum can take you up to the stronger energies where you're really excited and passionate, and you're just flowing love. Like when you're in that state, like if you have a phone call to make it. If you have something you need to do for work, do it. Like, I mean, those are the states that you really want to take advantage of, and momentum can carry you to where, like Valerie said, I mean, you can get so much done and create so much.
It's like shocking.
Yeah.
You feel like you're getting so much more done, but you're like not doing as much. It's you're partnering up with the universe. Like it's helping you just get through whatever you need to do. So it's not like you throw the practical out the window. I mean, not at all. But there's an ease and an elegance how things happen in your life when you're having these types of experiences, because again, you're going back to that, you just know you're doing the right thing, and you have an urge to help other people. You have an urge to do the right thing for yourself. You won't you won't let people push you around. You're independent. You're whole.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have no challenge. Like if you need to have some, I've been seeing a lot lately, and I've been this way for a while, but I've been seeing a lot lately as far as the value of being in solitude. So you can have this quiet and flow this energy towards what you want. And like I've met people over in my path, and I've had some, I'm not going to say specific name because I almost said something that somebody listening to this
I'm like, don't do that.
But I've met people in my life, and I'm making them wrong for it, where it was like vital for them to always be around people, like just like a need.
That's just another like major distraction, like keeping you from yourself. I mean, that's a common one.
Yeah, like it's Friday or Saturday, I have to be around people or else I'm unhappy. It's a really challenging place to be.
Well, and that's another like sign, you could say, you start loving being alone, and like, because your thoughts are so interesting that you want to protect that. I mean, I definitely went from being that person that like had to be at every party, always had to have a boyfriend, all just constantly being around people, to being someone that wanted a ton of alone time. Like I love being alone, and I choose to be alone a lot, and it's because all it does is serve me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the things that I'm creating in life, like unless it's like with someone that is like involved and I need them around, like I get way more done, and like just I'm in the creative flow when I'm like just doing what I need to do, because I can let momentum carry me to where it's like, oh my gosh, like 4 hours just passed and I just got so much done.
Right. Isn't that's so cool? I love that feeling.
Yeah. So I love this. You're awesome. What would you like to share with the audience that you have going on at the time of this recording? We're right at the beginning of 2020. What are you excited about this year, and anything you want to share with the audience as far as what you have going on and all that good stuff?
Well, I'm working on my next book, and we'll probably start, connecting with different publishers in the next couple months. So I'm really excited about that, because it's really fun to write a book. It's a whole process, but so that's really exciting. And I'm starting a new course next month called Stress Rehab. So I'm excited about that too, because I've really realized, like, if you don't have a calm nervous system, everything is wacky. So you gotta start thinking about how to reel it in, calm down, slow it down, and then I think your world really starts opening up to you. So those two things I'm super excited about.
I love it. I love it. You guys definitely, you want to follow Valerie on Instagram, and not only so you can see her, the light that she's sharing that I saw when I went to her page and immediately reached out and wanted to have this conversation with her, but also to be able to, I love social media for this reason. So once we know a human exists on the planet, because a few weeks ago, Valerie and I didn't even know each other existed on the planet. Now we can see, what they're inspired to create. And, it's just cool to be able to see how people's lives evolve and what they're inspired. And we could take inspiration from that and flow into things that we're doing. I love that part of life so much. So
social media is amazing. I mean, all the people that you can connect with around the world, it's like, it's the coolest invention ever.
For sure.
I mean, I look at it as a positive, because it's just, we're all connecting with each other and finding each other.
For sure.
That wasn't possible before. So I love it.
So true. I'll get an inspiration, and sometimes it comes through a meditation where it's just like, I'll get inspired to search for a hashtag and just see who's doing stuff in certain areas of life. I'd be like, I wonder if there's a hashtag for this. And there's a whole bunch of people that are like doing things in this area of life. And I'm like, I want to connect with some of these people.
I mean, we're all connected. It's so, it's like, life is just a giant miracle as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. We're sharing this planet on a really cool time where, technology is only increasing, and I could just see here, and it's so obvious. And for everybody listening, you guys see how obvious it is important for, you have an addiction too of this energy. You love it too, Valerie.
I do. It's like my everything.
Yeah, it's super obvious. Like the way that you speak, it always comes back to, which is, this is my priority in life, because I know if I know that I'm connected, then everything else can flow from there. And you could be very aware and not beat yourself up if you know that right now you're not feeling your best, because we're all human. But that awareness gives us choice. And that's all that I want for anybody out there listening, and for humanity, is just to have the awareness of, am I tapped in or not? And if I'm not, don't like beat yourself up, because it's going to just make you feel worse. But then you can now have a choice to meditate, to take a nap, to go out in nature.
Right. I mean, we have like a million options.
Yeah.
It's not like we don't have choices of how to get there.
Absolutely.
But you have to, search for it a little bit, or be open to it. And I think 9 times out of 10, it'll just show up in your life, and you'll be like, oh, like for me, like I was like, okay, I'll try meditating. Maybe I'll get some sleep. I had no idea that I was going to have that experience. I didn't even know you could have an experience like that. I mean, you can't read about that. You have to experience it yourself. So now I've met tons of people that have taken all these different paths to have these types of experiences, and then your life will change. I mean, there's no going back after that. You've opened the door to a new reality, and it's challenging sometimes, but it's way cooler than, just again being in like that rat race. I mean, that doesn't work for any of us.
I mean, unless you just love it, you're one of the few people out there that just like love and
But I mean, I don't think like that's like a natural way to live.
Are you describing like the traditional like 9 to 5 like lifestyle, what is sometimes described as rat race? Or
yeah, that constantly like looking outside of yourself instead of going within, just like constantly searching for your happiness and fulfillment in this world instead of just turning it around and going inward. That is a very challenging way to live, and I know because I've done both.
For sure. I'm happy I clarified that, because I
just meant looking outside of yourself.
Totally get it.
Yeah.
When I've heard that term used, it's normally, because I always caution too, because I felt what you were saying anyways, because that life, I've lived it too. Like I used to work 60 hours a week in Santa Monica, and I would go to work when it was dark and leave work when it was dark, and all these people are having fun at the beach in Santa Monica, LA. And I'm in the office building all day. So doing something that I wasn't passionate about, that
Yikes.
a boss was telling me what to do. Just like, this is not the life that I signed up for. So, but some people love like some of that stuff. So what's most important is what you just said, as far as, seeking outside to help us feel good versus feeling good on the inside and letting the outside reflect that is the easier way.
Just go within and then go do whatever the hell you want. I mean, everyone's different. Some people like the stability of a 9 to 5 and they love their job, and that's awesome, but just have some awareness around it. And if you're feeling tortured every day, you need something to help you, make some changes. And I say it's already built inside of us to know the right thing for yourself. You got to tap into that though. It's not like it's just going to come out. You have to turn your focus inward, and you can figure out all sorts of things for your life.
Love it. Love it. You're awesome. I really appreciate you having this conversation. I mean, if there's anything else you want to share with the audience, I will leave the last word for you, but I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your love and light. And I know the audience definitely appreciates you, and you're awesome. I'm happy that I now know that you exist, and excited to see what you choose to create, during this experience as Valerie, in this human experience.
Yeah, I'm in it for the long haul. So there'll be lots of creations coming down the road.
Love it. Love it. I know that this moment's the only one promised for us. I assume I'm going to live a long life. Just in case I don't, I'm going to enjoy right now as much as humanly possible. And
sounds good.
Yeah. There's a peace knowing that, because of things like conversations like these and social media and just being able to share, that I just know that the internet, I mean, unless it just somehow goes off the face of the earth, which I don't see how that could happen, but it's just cool that this stuff lives on, and it's just inspiring knowing that same way I stumbled upon different people or books or audios or videos that have helped me along my path, that a conversation like this could do the same for someone down the road. They might say, why are they wearing those funny clothes or any of that? Or why does he need these wires in his ears to use headphones or the speakers on the thing? But just know that we did this to impact you out there if you're listening to this 100 years from now.
That's right. That's right. I always say, like, I work for God. I'm just here to help other people. And that's it. I mean, it's pretty clear cut to me. So I just love having conversations like this. And yeah, I mean, someone could listen to us and be having these types of experiences and be like, I need to know more. You know, it's always helpful. These conversations are never a negative.
Absolutely. And they're fun to have personally. And I'm happy that, you know, I got to chat with you. And it's a conversation I would have wanted to have anyway. And I'm just happy we got to record it and share it so that more people could benefit. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. It was really fun talking to you.
Yes, likewise. You're awesome. Well, thank you guys out there for tuning into another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Continue to share these episodes with anyone that popped into your mind that you say, oh my gosh, I want them to know who this beautiful Valerie human is, and share this. It was no coincidence that they popped in your mind. And rate and review this and subscribe if you're not already, and just appreciate you guys out there, sending you all positive vibes, and probably be saying Happy New Year, maybe all year, because I won't stop saying it to people. So Happy New Year. And we'll talk to you guys soon on another episode. Have an amazing day whenever you're hearing this. Awesome. You're awesome, Valerie. That was fun.
Thanks. Yeah, that was good.
I was going to say something to the audience, and I forgot I should say it now and edit it in. So I meditated. I'm going to say this and I'm going to edit this in. So I meditated probably 20 minutes before our conversation because I didn't like where my energy was, because there was construction going on where I'm working in my apartment, and but not in my place, like a balcony, like right over here. And it was like drilling noise, and I'm like, how am I going to record this? And so it's like combination of just like, it was just not peaceful. And so I was like, I'm just gonna meditate. It's gonna work out. It's chill. So I did that. I got into a really high vibe place, and I just said, I'm just gonna see how much fun I can have with Valerie. And if I have to laugh and joke about drilling, then so be it. I'll be quick on the mute button. It'll be what it'll be. And they didn't work at all the whole episode. Like they just took a break, and now.
Do you think we did that with our minds?
I was gonna say it halfway through, and I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna put my attention back on drilling
Don't
right
jinx
now.
it.
Manifest more drilling." So I'm gonna say it at the end. So I'm gonna edit this in.
That's funny.